Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of the day it is that you're tuning in. Welcome to another episode of the Resilience Rising Podcast with me, Naturally Cinnamon. I am a therapist, life coach, resilience cultivator, and the founder and CEO of Jamila Wellness LLC, where women go to be well and live beautifully. You can find us at resiliencerisingpodcast.com. You can also send in your questions, topics, comments, and feedback at resiliencerisingpodcast@gmail.com. Like this, love this, share it, rate it, comment, but most important, make sure that you're subscribed and following. Here's another episode. Hope you enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode. Let's get right to it. So what have I been up to since I last recorded? I'm going to try to update you guys on some other parts of my life. And one of the things that I did was I wrote this blog about, it's called Things That I Do That People Think I Don't Do. Because I have friends that are really concerned about me, not just, any mental health issues or history that I've had, but also what I do currently and on a regular basis. And they, I do have a full-time job. I do have a part-time job, and I do run Jamila Wellness LLC, which is my business for therapy and life coaching. But there are several other aspects of Jamila Wellness as well. Check it out, jamilawellness.org. But I also have another company called Key 4 Enterprises, and you can check that out at key4enterprises.com. But I also have a partnership as well. So I'm a pretty busy lady. And I still, make time for family members as much as I can and friends as much as I can, and also my relationship. Yes, I do have a boyfriend as well. So I got a lot going on. So I have friends that check in on me, and I know a lot of times, be it on the podcast, be it on a blog, be it on social media, be it on my email list, I don't always talk about the ways that I relax. So I'm always talking about what's going on. I'm always talking about what's happening with the business, what's coming up next, so on and so forth. So I don't really talk about ways that I relax. So I wrote a blog about that. You can check that out on jamilawellness.org. Things that I do that people think I don't do. People don't think that I do. And one of those things that I do to relax me is I like to clean my kitchen. I don't know what is up with that. I can't explain it. But for some reason, if I feel that my kitchen is at least clean, even if the dishes aren't all put away, if I feel like they're clean, then I feel better. I don't know what's up with that. So, the past few days, I cleaned up, I did some laundry, and that actually relaxed me. But I also, I spent a lot of time with my boyfriend just talking and things of that nature. And we started talking about physical health and a lot of other things. But yeah, so I've been trying to fit relaxation into my schedule as much as I can. So that's basically what I've been up to this past week. And over the weekend, I went and supported a friend of mine in a play that he's a playwright and a stage play producer as well, and director, and he does a really good job. So I try to go to every play he has. I've only missed one in the last maybe 15 years or so that he's been doing this. So I think I've done pretty good. I've only missed one. So I went to see one of those, and it was, again, nothing less than I would have expected from him. So yeah, that's just what I've been up to. So give me a holler. Tell me what you've been up to. What do you do that relaxes you? And what do you do that kind of zone out from time to time to just free your mind from time to time? So we have Mother's Day coming up. Do you guys have your gifts for your mom? Do you buy gifts for your mom? Do you take her somewhere? Is there like a annual thing that you do? Is there a traditional thing that you do in your family? I don't really have a tradition between me and my mom. We really don't have a tradition as far as Mother's Day is concerned. But I will say this: my mom is everything to me. She is just my everything. She really is. She is my prayer partner. She is my open journal. She's one of my best friends. And the funny part is, it wasn't always like that. That's the part that people don't really that shocks them. It actually surprises them when when my mom and I tell them our story of how we became, to the point that we are right now, where we'll talk on the phone 4 and 5 times a day. And, I can say certain things to her and she'll automatically understand what it is that I'm saying or trying to say, if it doesn't come out clearly enough. And, when I tell people that there was a time where we were barely speaking to each other, we lived in the same house and barely spoke to each other. There's this like shock and awe when I say that, because people see us and we're like glued to the hip. We joke that the umbilical cord is still attached. And I'm like, no, we had to go find it and reattach it because it wasn't always like that. And sometimes people ask me, how do you restore or maintain the relationship that you have with your mother? And so I want to just talk about that for a moment, talk about the relationship with mother and daughter, especially when daughter is grown. Jamila Wellness started in 2015 an event called the Forever Brunch, and you can take a look at that. Like I say, you can go on jamilawellness.org and click on the tab that says the Forever Brunch, or you could just go on theforeverbrunch.com. Either way, both methods will get you to the website to read up a bit about the Forever Brunch. And the reason that I started that was because I had two friends that our friendship had gone back some years. I mean, we'd been friends for a very long time. And at a particular point, they were not really having the best relationship with their mother. I mean, they weren't fighting with their moms, but they weren't having the best relationships with their moms at that time. And neither of them talked to me about it together. Like, one talked about it to me, and then a couple weeks later, another friend talked to me about her situation. And it just kind of broke my heart, because both of those women, my friends, were also raising girls themselves. And I was just like, wow, it would be really nice. I have not given birth to any children myself, but I would like to think that if I had a daughter, I'd like to be able to have conversations with my mother about mothering a little girl or a young lady, or helping her become a woman and learning the lessons that I think she would need to learn, and me being able to teach them to her or help her learn them on her own. I would like to think that I could talk to my mother about that. And to know that my mother's mother, my maternal grandmother, passed away before my parents were married, which was before I was conceived. My mother went through her entire pregnancy and the entire time raising me without being able to speak to her mother. Not that she didn't want to speak to her mom. Her mom was deceased. So she couldn't talk to the woman that mothered her about the little girl that she was now mothering. And so now I'm listening to these women who are mothering girls and not willing to have a conversation with their mother. For me, it kind of was like, it was unsettling. It was uncomfortable for me to hear it, and it really made me sad. So I wanted to do something, but I had no idea what to do, So I remember praying one night. It was like, God, help me out here. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't want my friends not to, to miss out on any moment with their mother while they have her, because, it got a little difficult or it got a little uncomfortable for the moment. And I remember going to sleep that night and I dreamed of a brunch. I dreamed that myself, those two friends, and our mothers were at brunch. I don't even know where we were. We were just somewhere, but we were eating brunch. And we were sitting, the six of us were sitting around the table and just talking. And that was the dream I had. I have no idea what we were talking about. We were just together and talking. And so I set out to have that brunch. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, 6 women or go to brunch. It ended up being 25 women that came to the first forever brunch, and about 30 women came to the second one. Well, this year in 2018, we're going to have our third forever brunch. However, we're going to have it in a full day and with additional topics and activities. And that's why it's the I Am a 5-Star Woman retreat. I do believe that I cannot become a 5-star woman, or I can't even become fully the woman that I am without knowing the woman that made me. I need to know her. I may not agree with her all the time. She may not agree with me all the time. We may not end up being the best of friends, but I need to know her. And I don't want to know her as a mother. I want to know her as a woman. My mother was 29 years old when she had me. I think I did the math right in my head. If I didn't, we're just going to roll with it because I said it. My mother was 29 years old when she gave birth to me, which means she lived on this earth for 29 years. There's some of you now that are listening to me that are 24, 30, in the age range of 29, that's in the young adult age range, that want to go out and conquer the world and think you know all things because you've been through so much. So imagine now, here she is, 29 years old. She has ventured states away from where she was born and raised. She's living in another land. She has to travel back home to bury her mother and handle that business, come back to where she moved to, get married, become a wife, move into a house, merge her life with somebody, buy a home, move into that home, and give birth to a child without being able to talk to her mother. And so I'm looking at my mom at one point. I'm like, you were 29 years old before I came along. You have lived through a lot of stuff. Yes, there was much more stuff for you to live through, but at the point where I entered your life, you had experienced heartbreak already. You had experienced grief and loss already. You have experienced going to college and getting a degree. You have experienced interviewing for jobs and entering a job field and getting to know it and then navigating through the ranks to go up the ranks. You've been through what it feels like to be rejected. You've been through what it feels like to not like how you look, to look in the mirror and see something and not like it. You've been through falling in love with a man. You've been through this stuff already. You are a woman. You're not just my mommy. You're just my mommy when I'm 4 years old. You're just my mommy when I'm 8 years old. And, when we get into our teens, we feel like, y'all, moms know absolutely nothing. You don't understand anything. But here you are. When I got into my 20s and I looked at my mom, I'm like, she was a full grown woman before I even came along. I think she might understand some stuff. I got to stop treating her like she's this outcast, like she's this prison ward, like she's this human being that was placed on the face of the earth just to boss me around and tell me what to do. And she doesn't understand what I go through and this and that and the other. And she may not understand because she may not have experienced the things that I've experienced. Remember, there's a generational gap there. There are technologies and things and changes in the world that have happened between when she was 8 years old and when I was 8 years old, and from when she was 16 and when I was 16. And so there may have been things she didn't understand, but that didn't mean that she loved me any less. No less. And I had to start to see, when I began to see her as a woman that experienced hurt as a, she hurt just like I hurt. She was confused about things just like I was confused about certain things. When I would start to see her as a woman that could tell me something about a stage that I was about to enter because she had already been there, I started to see my mother very differently. You're not just somebody I have to ask permission if I want to go hang out with my friends. You're somebody that has an insight that I don't have yet. It might be worth me listening to you. You're somebody that has thought things through in a way that I'm just now being introduced to them. I might want to listen to you. I might want to hear you. And if I can hear your point of view, then I can understand you instead of me being so worried about whether or not you understand me. Do I even understand you? Do I have any idea what it's like to try to navigate life without picking up the phone and calling my mom? No, I have no clue what that's like, but she did. Do I know what it's like to have an experience and wish that I knew what was going to, do I know what it's like to graduate from college and at the age of 22 move states away to a place where I don't know anybody, but I made it work and I became successful and got a master's degree and then moved to another state again and made a career and a life in that state? Do I know what that's like? No, I don't. But you do. You've experienced these things. You were on an airplane before I knew what an airplane was. You've experienced some stuff and you've experienced some of the things that I would like to experience. So maybe instead of always looking for role models outside the home, I started looking at her and asking her questions, and we started having conversations. And when I started to learn my mother for the woman that she was, became, is continuing to become, that's when I was like, she's really cool. This lady is really pretty awesome. She's a little bit awesome. And I really like her and I want to talk to her more. That's kind of what started to bridge the gap between me and my mother. And she also started to realize that, when she was pregnant with me, she had or even when I was born, she had an image in her mind of what her daughter would be. And then here I come and I am completely nothing like what was in her head. So she had no clue. I don't know what to do with this little girl. I'm dressing her, and she'll tell you this story. She'll tell people this story that she was always dressing me in pink because she loved pink and little girls are so cute in pink. And then I come to her one day when I was maybe like 4 years old and I'm like, Mommy, I hate pink. She's looking like, what? She was like, you what? And she's like, well, then what am I supposed to put you in? So I kind of rocked her world a little bit. But thank God she's the type of woman that was like, okay, I can listen to you and I can learn from you as well. So it wasn't just one-sided. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very, very grateful for that. So shout out to my mommy. We have a laundry list of stories that we could tell about our ships passing in the night years. I mean, living under the same roof, walking into the same room, saying hello just because I was raised to do that. When you enter a room, you speak, you say hello. But other than that, there was really no communication happening. It was completely surface level. It was autopilot. Morning, Mom. Morning, Cinnamon. What are you eating for breakfast? I'm having this. Okay. And that was about it. So, it was very autopilot, very bland, there wasn't a lot of love being expressed. It really wasn't. And for us to be able to get from there to where we are today, a lot of ladies ask me, what did you do? And I have to say, both parties have to want it. You have to want it because there are going to be some things that, if, first of all, you have to release any expectation you have or think you should have of that other person, and just get to know the other person. Period, point blank. No qualms, no ifs, ands, or buts, no preconceived notions, no conceptions in your mind. Just listen to them and learn who they are and how they became who they are. They have a story that started long before we got here. They really do. They have a story that started long before we got here. I just finished reading a book called Drinking from a Bitter Cup, and I can't think of the name of the author off the top of my head right now, but I will put it in the comments. But there was a part in the book where this young lady, this little girl actually, I think she was 10 years old at the time, was introduced to her stepmother. And the stepmother behaved a certain way to this little girl that she didn't even know existed. And I just kept reading, as I read the book, I kept remembering saying to myself, but this woman, the stepmother, I mean, there's something that occurred in her life before she was even introduced into this story. And in the book, we never really got to know what it was, but it was a more recently released book in 2014, I believe. So I'm hoping there's a sequel, another book coming out that will allow us to look deeper into some of the other characters, but I digress. You have to understand that when it comes to our mothers, they had an entire existence before we came along. They had hopes, they had dreams, they had thoughts, they had feelings, they had wishes, they had happiness, they had sadness, they had laughter, they had tears, they have a whole set of memories and an entire life before we came along. And if we want to really get to know ourselves, we have to get to know the women that created us. And if we really want to get to know them, we should really be willing to hear their story. Ask them questions. Mom, what was it like for you when you were 15? Mom, do you remember when you were 8? What do you remember about that time? And I just hope and pray that the older ladies listen, let me say this. I know, older women, and I apologize on behalf of my generation and younger. I know that it's not easy to talk to us. I know that some of us can be really standoffish with the older generation, and we behave as though we don't want to hear what you have to say. More often than not, we're afraid of being judged by you. We don't want to be judged by you for making the mistakes that we're making. So please just be patient with us. We do respect you. We do. We just aren't 100% sure how to be adults. We're new at this. We're new at this adulting thing. And we're new at becoming these grown women that we think we grew up thinking that we wanted to be. We're new at this, and we think that we're not supposed to need to listen so much. The older we get, we shouldn't need to listen so much. But we do. But we do. We do need to listen. We need to listen more to the older generation. The older we get, we need to listen even more. And part of the reason that the Forever Brunch was created was because I wanted to make sure that we still continue to honor the women before us, the mothers, the mother figures, like the mothers-in-law, the grandmothers, the godmothers, the aunties that poured into us as children. We want to let them know as adults, we still have not forgotten about you. You are still we still look to you for guidance. We still look to you for hugs. Let me tell you, there is nothing like my mama's hug. There's nothing on this earth like it for me. There's nothing like it. There is no place on earth that feels this safe for me. So I don't care how old she gets. I'm going to lay right on her bosom. I don't care. If the bosom is available, I'm going to lay on it. So I say to the older generation, please be patient with us. Keep talking to us. When you think we're not listening, we're listening. When you think we're not hearing you, we're hearing you. Understanding, we may not understand it, but we're hearing it. So just keep talking to us. And for my generation and even the generation under me, we have to keep listening. Even if we don't understand, just keep listening. Just keep listening and even ask questions. That's how we start to bridge these gaps. And that's how we start to develop and maintain the connections that we have with across generations. Anyway, so that's a little shout out to my mommy. Love you, mommy. That's a shout out to my mommy and a little bit about how our relationship became what it is today and the fact that it wasn't always like that. Like I said, a lot of people look at our relationship today and think that, oh, they must have been glued to the hip forever. And that's just not the case. That's not the way it was. We had to rebuild our relationship. We really had to do that. So give me some feedback. Let me know what you have going on with your mom for Mother's Day. With your mother-in-law, if you're taking her out, with your grandmother, godmother, aunties, anything of that nature. If you have a mother that has passed on and has gone before you, are you honoring her on this day in any type of way? Let me know. Leave some comments and let me know what it is that you're doing for your mom for Mother's Day or any day. Any day. It doesn't just have to be Mother's Day. It could be any day of the week, any week of the month, any month of the year. It could be any time, any day. Mothers, honoring our parents are not just set aside for 1 or 2 days of the year. That's my belief. So thanks for listening, you guys. I hope you enjoy the Spirit Support segment brought to you by Jamila Wellness. This is where I will be introducing that. At the end of each episode, we will have that segment. Don't forget to send in any questions or topics or suggestions to resiliencerisingpodcast@gmail.com. And I'll see you guys. It's time for the Spirit Support segment, when we take a moment to feed our spirit. Brought to you by Jamila Wellness, where women go to be well and live beautifully. Have you ever had a coffee mug or a tea mug or a ceramic bowl or some sort of dish that when it broke, you had to get rid of it because you didn't know what to do with it? My grandmother knew how to glue back a handle on a mug in a way that you didn't even know it was broken unless she told you. She was really good at that. Me? Not so much. So I may still drink out of it, but if something shatters too much because I don't know how to fix it or I don't know what to do with it, I may try to throw it away. How many times have we been broken or felt broken or let others make us believe that we were broken behind an incident, behind some words, or behind some event or some action, and have made us feel like we're only good enough to throw away? Well, that's because in the hands of those people, they didn't know what to do with us. It's not their fault. They don't know how to put us back together because they didn't create us in the first place. So they didn't know what to do. So they tried to make it feel like, you know what? Just throw the whole thing away. Throw the whole person away. Throw the whole you away. Well, thank goodness I've learned better, because I know who made me. I know who can fix me should I become broken. And there's a song called The Potter's House that explains it perfectly. Because of copyright rules, and I'm not exactly sure what they are, I want to play that song for you, but I'm not going to play the original recorded version. I'm going to play another version, a rendition that a group of ladies sang that I got off of Facebook. It's just as effective. I hope that this seeps into your spirit the way that it seeped into mine.
In case you had fallen by the wayside of life, dreams and visions shattered, you're all broken inside. You don't have to stay in the shape that you're in. The potter wants to put you back together again.
Thanks for tuning in to Resilience Rising with Naturally Cinnamon. Life has a way of tossing unexpected trials and circumstances our way. We can't stop them, but we can better handle them by raising our resilience. Remember, you can find us at ResilienceRisingPodcast.com, on Instagram at Resilience Rising Podcast, and you can also send in a question or topic for this podcast by emailing us at ResilienceRisingPodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to like this podcast, love it, share it, rate it, and comment, but most important, make sure that you've subscribed and that you're following. I'm Naturally Cinnamon. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Creative Director Jeremy Key for JK Collective. Music by AJ Miles.